They spent another hour going over details, planning the investigation timeline, and ensuring every piece of evidence was properly documented and secured. When Jennifer left the coffee shop that afternoon, she felt like she'd just put on armor for battle. Back at home, Marcus was in full preparation mode for the ceremony. He'd rented an expensive designer tuxedo. He rehearsed his acceptance speech, the one Jennifer had written for him, in front of the mirror constantly. "How do I sound?" he asked her one evening. She was folding laundry and had to bite her tongue to keep from screaming the truth at him. "You sound great," she said instead, her voice deliberately flat. He didn't even notice her lack of enthusiasm. He was too absorbed in his own fantasy of success. The phone rang one evening while Marcus was in the shower. Jennifer answered. "Hello?" There was a brief pause, then a quick hang-up. Jennifer checked the caller ID. It was a cell phone number she didn't recognize, but she knew instinctively it had to be Rachel. When Marcus came out wrapped in a towel, Jennifer handed him the phone casually. Someone called and hung up. Marcus's face flickered with obvious panic for just a second, then smoothed over with practiced ease. "Probably a spam call," he said, deliberately not meeting her eyes. "Probably," Jennifer agreed. Though they both knew the truth, she watched him text someone rapidly on his phone, his face tense with concentration. When he caught her looking, he quickly put the phone away and forced the smile. "What do you want for dinner?" he asked, as if everything was normal, as if he wasn't planning to humiliate and abandon her, as if he hadn't spent months systematically lying to her face. 4 days before the ceremony, Marcus took a phone call in the backyard, where he clearly thought she couldn't hear him. But Jennifer stood by the kitchen window and listened to every word. "The divorce papers are ready," Marcus said to whoever was on the other end, probably his attorney. "I'll serve her right after I get the executive director announcement. She won't see it coming." He laughed. He actually laughed. Jennifer gripped the windowsill so hard her knuckles turned white. She wanted desperately to march outside and throw his betrayal directly in his face. But she didn't, because her revenge was going to be so much more satisfying than a private confrontation could ever be. She had bought a new dress for the ceremony. It was deep navy blue, elegant and professional, with a fitted silhouette and flowing skirt. She looked beautiful in it, powerful. Marcus barely glanced at it when she showed him. "Nice," he said absently, scrolling through his phone. The morning of the ceremony, Jennifer woke before dawn. She couldn't sleep. In just a few hours, everything would change forever. She showered carefully, did her makeup with precision, styled her hair in soft waves. She put on her navy dress and silver heels. She looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. The woman looking back wasn't the invisible, taken for granted wife. She was someone stronger, someone who was about to take her life back. Marcus came up behind her, already dressed in his tuxedo. For a moment, they stood there reflected in the mirror together, looking like the perfect couple. "Ready?" he asked. "More than you know," Jennifer said quietly. They drove to the venue in tense silence. Marcus was obviously nervous, tapping his fingers on the steering wheel, checking his phone constantly. Rachel had texted him, "Good luck tonight," with a string of heart emojis. Jennifer saw it when his phone lit up on the console between them. She said nothing. When they arrived at the grand ballroom, Marcus immediately abandoned her to network with colleagues. Jennifer stood alone, watching the crowd gather, watching people laugh and drink champagne. She saw Rachel arrive in her tight red dress, making an immediate path straight toward Marcus. She saw them whisper to each other, saw the way Marcus's hand lingered possessively on Rachel's lower back. She saw Mr. Carlson arrive with Diane Patterson at his side. They both glanced at Jennifer briefly, their expressions carefully unreadable. The trap was set. The evidence had been reviewed. The decision had been made. Now all that remained was to spring it. Jennifer picked up a glass of champagne from a passing server and took a small sip. Her hand was perfectly steady. Tonight, the whole world would finally see the truth. Jennifer Hayes, please come to the stage. The words echoed through the ballroom speakers like a thunderclap in absolute silence. Jennifer's heart hammered violently in her chest, but she forced herself to walk steadily through the parted crowd. Every single face turned toward her with confusion, curiosity, and in many cases, profound shock. Marcus looked like he might actually collapse. His face had drained of all color, gone from its normal healthy tone to an ashen gray. The trophy trembled visibly in his hands. Rachel grabbed his arm, whispering urgently. But Marcus just stared at Jennifer like she was an apparition. He couldn't explain. Jennifer climbed the steps to the stage, her heels clicking against the polished wood with deliberate precision. Mr. Carlson extended his hand to help her up, and she took it gratefully, using it to steady herself. Her legs felt like water, but she made it to the microphone. The CEO stood beside her, still holding his prepared notes, his expression serious but not unkind. He addressed the silent, waiting crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen," Mr. Carlson began, his voice calm but carrying unmistakable weight. "I need to share something important with all of you tonight." A ripple of whispers spread through the room. People shifted uncomfortably in their formal attire. Marcus's face somehow went even paler, if that was possible. 2.5 weeks ago, Mr. Carlson continued, I was contacted by our Director of Human Resources, Diane Patterson, regarding serious allegations of misconduct within our agency. The whispers grew louder, more uncomfortable, shifting. Troy gripped the trophy like it was the only thing keeping him upright. These allegations involved intellectual property theft, financial fraud, and workplace harassment. Mr. Carlson said clearly, I want you to know that we took these allegations extremely seriously and conducted a thorough, comprehensive investigation over the past 2 weeks. Diane Patterson stepped onto the stage as well, carrying a professional leather folder. She stood on Jennifer's other side, a silent but powerful show of support. The investigation revealed that Marcus Hayes has been submitting work created by another person as his own for approximately 4 years, Mr. Carlson said, his disappointment evident in every word. Every campaign, every strategy document, every presentation that earned him praise and advancement was created by someone else. Someone who received no credit, no compensation, and no recognition whatsoever. The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs. Someone gasped audibly. Head swiveled toward Marcus, who stood frozen in place like a statue. That someone, Mr. Carlson said, gesturing respectfully to Jennifer, is Jennifer Hayes, his wife. The whispers became a roar. People who had ignored Jennifer all evening now stared at her with wide, disbelieving eyes. Mrs. Hayes provided us with extensive documentation, proving her authorship of all the work in question. Diane added, stepping up to share the microphone. Original files with metadata, email correspondence, drafts showing her complete creative process, and detailed contracts. The evidence is absolutely irrefutable. Mr. Carlson's expression hardened noticeably. Furthermore, our investigation uncovered significant financial irregularities in Mr. Hayes' expense reports. He has been systematically using company funds for personal expenses, fraudulently reporting them as legitimate business costs. This constitutes embezzlement and is a criminal offense. Marcus finally found his voice, though it came out strangled and desperate. This is absolutely ridiculous, he shouted from his position in the crowd. She's lying. She's trying to sabotage me because she's jealous and unstable. Jealous of what exactly? Mr. Carlson asked calmly, with devastating precision. The work you stole from her? The money you embezzled from this agency? Or perhaps the affair you've been conducting with one of your colleagues." The room went completely, utterly silent. Marcus's mouth opened and closed repeatedly, no sound emerging. Rachel, standing directly beside him, suddenly took several large steps away, her face turning bright red. "We have messages, Mr. Hayes," Diane said, pulling printed documents from her folder. "Hundreds of them, between you and Miss Rachel Chun. Messages that not only prove the affair conclusively, but also clearly show premeditation in your plan to steal intellectual property, defraud this agency, and systematically destroy your wife's reputation." She held up printed screenshots, enlarged enough for people nearby to clearly see. Even from a distance, the explicit nature of the messages was unmistakable. "You told your colleagues that your wife was mentally unstable," Mr. Carlson said, his voice heavy with profound disappointment. "You spread deliberate rumors. You systematically isolated her. You made her invisible in this agency so that when you stole her brilliant work, no one would believe her if she spoke up." Jennifer watched Marcus's carefully constructed facade completely crumble. He looked around the room desperately, seeking any support, but everyone deliberately avoided his eyes. "As of this moment," Mr. Carlson announced with finality, "Marcus Hayes is terminated from Dawson Creative Agency. Security personnel are here to escort you from the premises. You will be required to return all company property immediately. Our legal team will be in contact regarding restitution for the embezzled funds and the intellectual property theft." Two professional security guards appeared from the side of the room, their expressions neutral and businesslike. They approached Marcus, who actually backed away from them. "You can't do this," Marcus yelled, his voice breaking. "Also, this is wrongful termination." "You're certainly welcome to try," Diane said coolly, her professional composure absolute. "We have extensive documentation of evidence, including irrefutable proof that you violated your employment contract, the agency's code of conduct, and several state and federal laws. I strongly suggest you retain an excellent attorney." The security guards took Marcus firmly by both arms. He struggled briefly, still clutching the trophy, until one of the guards removed it from his grip with practiced efficiency as they led him toward the exit. Marcus locked eyes with Jennifer. One final time. There was rage there, fear, and something that might have been genuine disbelief that she had actually done this to him. Jennifer stared back without flinching, her expression calm and resolved. Then Mr. Carlson called out another name that sent a fresh shock through the room. Rachel Chun. Rachel, who had been attempting to slip discreetly toward the back exit, froze completely. All remaining color drained from her face. "Miss Chun," Mr. Carlson said formally, "our investigation also revealed your direct participation in presenting stolen work as your own. Mrs. Hayes' documentation clearly shows that on at least 6 occasions, you used substantial portions of her campaigns in your team presentations, knowing full well the work was not yours." "I didn't know," Rachel protested, her voice shrill and desperate. "Marcus never told me where he got the ideas." Diane raised one eyebrow with devastating effect. "We have messages where you literally discussed whose work you were stealing together. Would you like me to read them aloud to everyone here?" Rachel's mouth snapped shut instantly. "You're suspended pending further investigation," Mr. Carlson said with finality. "Depending on the results, termination is extremely likely. You'll need to surrender your access credentials and leave the premises immediately." Another security guard approached Rachel, who looked like she might actually cry. She glanced back desperately at Marcus, who was being firmly pushed out the main doors, but he didn't even look at her. He was too busy arguing futilely with the guards. The room watched in stunned, absolute silence as both Marcus and Rachel were escorted out, The doors closed behind them with a decisive, final sound that seemed to echo through the entire ballroom. Mr. Carlson turned back to Jennifer, and his stern expression softened considerably. "Mrs. Hayes," he said warmly, "on behalf of Dawson Creative Agency, I want to sincerely apologize for what you've experienced. You deserved recognition for your extraordinary work, and instead you were exploited and dismissed." He gestured for her to step forward to the main microphone. "But tonight, we're going to correct that mistake." Jennifer's hand shook as she gripped the microphone stand. She looked out at 300 faces, no longer dismissive or cold, but shocked, attentive, and in some cases, genuinely remorseful. "The Marketing Excellence Award that was presented to Mr. Hayes tonight is hereby rescinded," Mr. Carlson announced formally. "And while we cannot retroactively give you an award for work that was technically submitted under someone else's name, we can do something significantly better." He pulled an official-looking envelope from his jacket pocket. "Mrs. Hayes, Dawson Creative Agency would like to formally offer you the position of Executive Creative Director. This role comes with a substantial salary, comprehensive benefits, equity shares in the company, and most importantly, full credit and complete intellectual property rights for all the campaigns you created." Jennifer felt tears well up in her eyes. She blinked them back fiercely, refusing to cry. "Not now. Not here. We would also like to offer you a substantial settlement for damages to your professional reputation and fair compensation for the work you provided without payment," Diane added, stepping forward with official-looking documents. "All the details are outlined here. You don't have to answer tonight. Please take time to review everything with your own attorney." But Jennifer didn't need time. She had spent 4 years invisible, diminished, systematically erased. "I accept," she said clearly into the microphone, her voice strong and unwavering. The room erupted in genuine applause. Real applause this time, not the polite acknowledgement from earlier in the evening. People stood up from their tables. Some were clapping because they were genuinely happy for her. Others were probably just relieved not to be associated with the scandal. But Jennifer didn't care about their individual motivations. For the first time in 4 years, she was seen. She was valued. She was recognized as the brilliant creative professional she had always been. "Welcome to Dawson Creative Agency, Executive Director Hayes," Mr. Carlson said, shaking her hand firmly. "Executive Director Hayes." The title Marcus had been promised. The title he thought he deserved. The title he had built his entire fantasy around. It was hers now. Rightfully hers. The next morning, Jennifer woke up in a quiet hotel room. She had left the ceremony early, unable to face the overwhelming barrage of questions and sudden attention from colleagues who had completely ignored her just hours before. Diane had helped her slip out through a side entrance and had even offered to drive her anywhere she needed to go. But Jennifer couldn't bear the thought of going back to the house she had shared with Marcus. So she checked into a comfortable hotel downtown, ordered room service, and sat by the large window watching the city lights flicker on and off, processing everything that had happened. Her phone had exploded with messages and notifications. Her email inbox was completely full, but she ignored all of it and finally allowed herself to truly feel. She cried, not because she missed Marcus, but because she mourned the version of herself who had believed his lies for so long. She cried for the 4 years she had lost, for the confidence that had been slowly stripped away, for the professional dreams she had put on indefinite hold. Then she stopped crying, took a long hot shower, ordered strong coffee from room service, and started making concrete plans for her future. By Monday morning, the story had spread through the entire marketing industry like wildfire. It was a relatively small professional world. And what happened at Dawson Creative Agency was far too dramatic to stay quiet. Jennifer started seeing articles on marketing blogs and industry websites with headlines like "Marketing Executive Exposed for Stealing Wife's Work" and "Dawson Creative Agency Terminates Employee for Intellectual Property Theft" and fraud. Marcus's name was permanently attached to all of them. His professional reputation was completely destroyed. Jennifer found she felt absolutely nothing about that. No satisfaction, no guilt, no pity. Just a strange emptiness where he used to exist in her thoughts. Her attorney, a sharp woman named Victoria Chun, who specialized in intellectual property and family law, met with her on Tuesday morning in a professional downtown office. "You have one of the strongest cases I've ever encountered," Victoria said, spreading extensive documents across the polished conference table. "For the divorce, we're pursuing fault-based grounds: adultery, fraud, and economic abuse. Given the overwhelming evidence, he'll be fortunate to walk away with his personal vehicle." "What about the house?" Jennifer asked. "You'll get it, without question. You can definitively prove you contributed substantially to the household through intellectual labor that he systematically exploited for financial gain. Any reasonable judge will see that clearly. Plus, the financial fraud he committed gives us significant additional leverage." The divorce papers were filed by Wednesday. Marcus tried to call her 49 times that day alone. She blocked his number without hesitation. He sent desperate emails, long ones, starting with rage and legal threats, then shifting to pathetic pleas for forgiveness, then cycling back to rage again. She forwarded them all to Victoria without fully reading them. "He's panicking," Victoria observed with professional satisfaction. "Good. Panic makes people sloppy and makes our job considerably easier. He'll probably try to come to the house. I'm drafting a restraining order just in case." Jennifer changed all the locks on Thursday. She went to the house with Diane and 2 security guards from Dawson Creative Agency, just to be absolutely safe. First, proof that she had created all the work Marcus claimed as his own. She went through her personal laptop and external hard drives, pulling up every original file. Every campaign concept had metadata showing the exact date and time she'd created it. Every document had her name embedded in the file properties as the author. She had rough drafts, brainstorming notes, research documents, everything that showed the complete creative process from initial concept to final execution. She compared her original files with the final versions Marcus had submitted at work. They were nearly identical, with only minor formatting changes. In several cases, Marcus had literally copied and pasted her work word for word into agency templates. She created a detailed spreadsheet listing every single project, the date she created it, the date Marcus presented it, and the outcome. 18 major campaigns over 4 years. All successful. All hers. Second, proof of the affair. She organized the screenshots of messages between Marcus and Rachel into a chronological timeline. She included the explicit messages, the photographs, and most importantly, the messages where they discussed his deliberate plan to divorce her and destroy her reputation. She also found credit card statements on Troy's email for charges that never appeared. On their joint account, a separate credit card she didn't know existed. Hotels, expensive restaurants, designer gifts, all for Rachel. Third, proof of financial fraud. Marcus had been systematically using company funds for personal expenses, charging dinners with Rachel as business meetings, booking hotel rooms and listing them as conference accommodations, buying expensive gifts and categorizing them as client appreciation purchases. She downloaded his expense reports for the past year, then cross-referenced them with the receipts and messages to Rachel. The evidence was undeniable. Marcus was stealing from Dawson Creative Agency by 3 in the morning. Jennifer had compiled everything into a comprehensive presentation. 64 slides, each one backed by documentation, screenshots, and irrefutable proof. She titled it, "The Truth About Marcus Hayes." She saved it to 3 separate USB drives, uploaded it to 2 different cloud storage accounts, and emailed it to herself at 5 different email addresses. Then she sat back and thought carefully about what to do next. She could confront Marcus directly, but what would that accomplish? He would lie, manipulate, gaslight her. The agency would believe him over her, the jealous, mentally unstable wife he'd already told everyone about. She would look exactly like the paranoid woman he'd painted her to be. No, she needed to go to someone with authority, someone who could verify her claims independently and take appropriate action. She thought about Mr. Leonard Carlson, the CEO, but she'd never actually met him. She had no direct connection, no way to ensure he would take her seriously. Then she remembered. Diane Patterson. Diane was the director of human resources at Dawson Creative Agency. Jennifer had met her once at a company family picnic 3 years ago. Marcus had been busy networking with executives, and Diane had ended up sitting at Jennifer's table. They talked for over an hour about everything from books to travel to the unique challenges of working in creative industries. Diane had given Jennifer her business card at the end of the afternoon. "If you ever want to grab coffee or just chat, please call me," she'd said warmly. Jennifer had kept that card in her wallet, never expecting to use it. She pulled it out now and stared at the phone number, printed in elegant script. It was 4 in the morning, too early to call. But maybe she could send an email. She opened her personal email and began typing carefully, choosing every word with precision. "Dear Miss Patterson, I hope you remember me. We met at the company picnic 3 years ago. My name is Jennifer Hayes. I am Marcus Hayes' wife. I am reaching out because I have uncovered serious misconduct involving my husband and one of his colleagues. This includes intellectual property theft, financial fraud, and deliberate sabotage of my professional reputation. I have compiled substantial evidence that I believe the agency needs to see urgently. I would like to request a confidential meeting with you after the upcoming awards ceremony. I understand this is an unusual request, but I assure you the matter is both urgent and significant. I have documentation proving that the work Marcus has been presenting as his own for the past 4 years was actually created by me. I also have evidence of financial irregularities in his expense reports and communications, showing premeditated fraud. Please let me know if you would be willing to meet with me. I can provide a preview of the evidence if needed to establish credibility. Sincerely, Jennifer Hayes." She attached a 2-page summary document, just enough to demonstrate she was serious without revealing everything. Then she took a deep breath and hit send. She closed her laptop and sat in the dark living room, watching the sky slowly transform from black to gray to pale morning blue. Birds began singing outside. The world was waking up, completely unaware that Jennifer Hayes had just declared war. Around 6:30, her phone buzzed with a new email notification. It was from Diane Patterson. "Jennifer, of course I remember you. I am deeply concerned by what you shared. I would like to meet with you as soon as possible. Would you be available this afternoon at 2 o'clock? We can meet at the coffee shop on Riverside Avenue, away from the office environment. This is clearly a serious matter, and I want to give it the careful attention it deserves. Please bring whatever documentation you have. Thank you for having the courage to come forward. Best regards, Diane." Jennifer felt tears sting her eyes for the first time since discovering the messages. Not tears of sadness, but tears of profound relief. Someone believed her. Someone was going to listen. She typed back a quick confirmation, then stood up and walked to the kitchen to start the coffee. Marcus would be awake soon, expecting her to make him breakfast, expecting her to smile and act like everything was perfectly normal. and she would. For 3 more weeks, she would play the role of the devoted, unsuspecting wife, because the trap was set. The evidence was compiled. The wheels were in motion, and Marcus Hayes had absolutely no idea. He was about to walk straight into it. The next 2.5 weeks were the most difficult of Jennifer's life. Not because of the betrayal. She'd already processed that pain in the dark hours of discovery. They were difficult because she had to pretend everything was fine while watching her husband prepare for his moment of glory, completely unaware that it was about to be torn away from him. The day after she emailed Diane, Jennifer met her at the coffee shop as planned. She brought her laptop and one of the USB drives containing all her carefully organized evidence. Diane, a woman in her early 50s with kind eyes and an air of quiet authority, sat across from her with a notepad and a serious expression. "Show me what you have," Diane said gently. Jennifer opened her laptop and methodically walked Diane through everything. The timeline of stolen work, the messages between Marcus and Rachel, the financial fraud, the calculated plan to destroy her reputation and divorce her immediately after securing his promotion. Diane's expression grew progressively darker with each piece of evidence. She took extensive notes, asked clarifying questions, and requested copies of specific documents. "This is significantly worse than I anticipated," Diane said finally, her voice heavy with professional disappointment. "Much worse. The intellectual property theft alone is a terminable offense. The financial fraud is potentially criminal. And the deliberate reputation sabotage constitutes workplace harassment. What happens now?" Jennifer asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I need to bring this to Mr. Carlson immediately," Diane said. "He's currently out of town at a conference, but he returns 4 days before the awards ceremony. I'll present this to him directly and confidentially. He'll want to verify everything independently, which means we'll need to access Marcus's company accounts and expense records. Will Marcus know I'm the one who reported him?" Jennifer asked. "Eventually, yes, but not until we've completed our investigation. I'll list you as a confidential informant in my initial report." Diane reached across the table and gently squeezed Jennifer's hand. "You're doing the right thing. What he did to you, what he's doing to this agency, it's not acceptable. You deserve so much better than this." Jennifer felt something loosen in her chest. Someone saw her. Someone believed her. Someone was on her side. "There's something else I want to propose," Diane said carefully, choosing her words with obvious thought. "The executive creative director position that Marcus is being considered for. You created the work that made him a viable candidate. You have the talent, the credentials, the proven track record. Would you be interested in that position yourself?" Jennifer's eyes widened in genuine shock. "Are you serious?" "Completely. Once this investigation is complete and Marcus is terminated, we'll need someone exceptionally talented to lead our creative division. You're more than qualified. You've essentially been doing the job for 4 years already, just without recognition or compensation. We need to make it official and give you the credit you've always deserved." For the first time since discovering the affair, Jennifer smiled, a real, genuine smile. "Yes," she said firmly. "I would be very interested." "Good. Leave the rest to me." The diamond bracelet fell cold against Jennifer Hayes' wrist as she stood alone near the marble columns of the Riverside Hotel ballroom. Around her, 300 employees of Dawson Creative Agency laughed and celebrated beneath glittering lights that cast dancing shadows across polished floors. Champagne flowed freely. Camera flashes captured smiling faces. Everyone was having the time of their lives. Everyone except her. Across the room, her husband Marcus stood at the center of an expanding crowd, holding the Platinum Industry Innovator Trophy above his head like a championship belt. The applause had faded 10 minutes ago, But people still swarmed him, shaking his hand, clapping his shoulder, snapping photos with the man of the hour. And there, practically glued to his side in a dress so tight it looked painted on, was his assistant Rachel, laughing at something Marcus said. Her hand resting on his forearm just a little too long. Jennifer took a breath and started walking toward them. Maybe if she just stood beside Marcus, people would remember she existed. She was his wife, after all. She had every right to be part of this celebration. As she approached, a woman from the design department glanced at her, then immediately turned away. Another colleague saw her coming and literally walked in the opposite direction mid-conversation. Jennifer's steps slowed, but she pushed forward anyway. "Excuse me," Jennifer said softly, trying to edge into the circle surrounding Marcus. No one moved. No one even looked at her. It was as if she had spoken into empty air. "Marcus," she said louder this time. Reaching out to touch his shoulder. Her husband's eyes passed over her face, completely blank. No recognition, no warmth, nothing at all. He turned his body away from her, effectively blocking her out, and continued talking to the executive director about expansion plans. Heat rushed to Jennifer's cheeks. She tried again, stepping directly in front of a junior designer. "Congratulations on the win," she offered with what she hoped was a friendly smile. The young man looked straight through her as if she were made of glass, then moved to the other side of the circle without a word. Something cold and heavy settled in Jennifer's chest. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't people being distracted by the party. This was deliberate. She moved to another group colleague she'd met at the summer barbecue just 3 months ago. "Hello," she said pleasantly. "Amazing event tonight, isn't it?" One woman glanced at her briefly, whispered something to the man beside her, and they both turned and walked away without responding. Jennifer's hands began to tremble. What was happening? The company photographer weaved through the crowd, capturing moments of joy and celebration. When he approached Marcus, Jennifer instinctively moved to stand beside her husband for the photo. The photographer held up his hand. "Just Mr. Hayes and his team, please," he said firmly. Jennifer stepped back, confused and stung. She watched as Marcus posed with Rachel and 4 other team members, all of them grinning like they'd won the lottery. "Could I just get in one?" Jennifer started. "We're keeping it to award winners and direct contributors tonight," the photographer interrupted, already moving toward the next group. But Jennifer wasn't a direct contributor. Even though she had created every single concept, every campaign strategy, every presentation that won Marcus that trophy, she drifted through the ballroom like a ghost, trying to join conversations, trying to catch someone's eye, trying simply to exist. But everywhere she went, people turned away. Some whispered as she passed. Others simply pretended she wasn't there at all. Near the bar, she overheard 2 women talking in voices they clearly thought were quiet enough. "I heard she's completely unstable," one whispered. "Paranoid. Jealous of every woman Marcus works with." "Poor Marcus," the other replied, shaking her head. "Imagine being married to someone like that. He's such a good man for staying as long as he has." "Well, I heard he's finally leaving her." "About time, honestly. She's been holding him back for years." Jennifer gripped the edge of a nearby table to steady herself. Her vision blurred at the edges. How long had people been saying these things? How long had Marcus been painting her as the crazy, unstable wife? She looked across the crowded room at her husband. He was laughing now, his arm draped around Rachel's waist. Not just touching, but holding, claiming. And Rachel gazed up at him like he'd personally hung every star in the sky. Nobody cared that Jennifer was watching. Nobody cared that she was standing right there. Nobody cared that she existed at all. The CEO of Dawson Creative Agency, Mr. Leonard Carson, walked onto the stage and tapped the microphone. The room gradually quieted, conversations fading to whispers, then silence. "What an extraordinary evening," Mr. Carlson said, his deep voice filling every corner of the ballroom. "Marcus Hayes has truly demonstrated what creative excellence looks like. His innovative campaigns have brought unprecedented success to our agency and our clients." More applause erupted. Marcus waved humbly, soaking in the adoration. Jennifer felt physically sick. Those were her campaigns, her ideas, her sleepless nights, her creative vision, her brilliance. "Before we conclude tonight's ceremony," Mr. Carlson continued, adjusting his reading glasses as he looked down at his notes, "there is one more name I need to call to the stage." The room buzzed with curiosity. Another award? A surprise announcement? Jennifer started to turn away, ready to leave this nightmare and never look back. She couldn't take another minute of being invisible. "Jennifer Hayes," Mr. Carlson said clearly, scanning the crowd with sharp eyes. "Could you please come to the stage?" The ballroom went completely, utterly silent. Jennifer froze. Every single eye in the room turned to find her. The same people who had ignored her, dismissed her, whispered about her, they all stared at her now with confusion and shock written across their faces. Marcus's face drained of all color. The trophy nearly slipped from his hands. Rachel's mouth fell open in an almost comical expression of disbelief. And Jennifer, with her heart pounding so violently she could hear it in her ears, began walking toward the stage. Her legs felt unsteady, like they might buckle at any moment, but she kept moving forward. The crowd parted for her this time. She walked past her husband, whose eyes were wide with something that looked like panic. She walked past Rachel, who appeared as though she might be sick. Mr. Carlson extended his hand to help her up the stairs. His smile was kind, professional, and something that looked distinctly like respect. Jennifer took the microphone with shaking hands and looked out at the sea of faces. All those people who had treated her like she was nothing. All those people who were about to learn the truth. What was about to happen would change everything. 6 months before that ceremony, Jennifer had been content. Or at least she thought she was content. She sang along to the radio while making breakfast in their sunny kitchen. Morning light streaming through the windows of their comfortable townhouse in the suburbs. "Morning." "Beautiful," Marcus said, kissing her cheek as he grabbed his travel mug. He looked sharp in his charcoal suit, his dark hair perfectly styled, his cologne expensive and distinctive. "Big presentation today. Wish me luck." "You don't need luck," Jennifer said, smiling up at him. "You have me." It was their inside joke. Except it wasn't really a joke at all. Jennifer and Marcus had been married for 6 years. They met in college, both studying marketing and communications. She'd been the star student winning competitions, earning internships at prestigious firms, receiving multiple job offers before graduation. Marcus had been charming, outgoing, and honest about not being the most talented person in their program. But he loved her, and she loved him, and that had felt like enough. After college, Jennifer had accepted a position at a top advertising agency in the city. The hours were brutal, the pressure relentless, but she thrived. She'd been on the fast track to becoming one of the youngest creative directors in the company's history. Then her father had a stroke. Jennifer needed flexibility to help her mother care for him, to drive him to therapy appointments, to be there during the difficult recovery process. She left her corporate position and started freelancing from home. Marcus got hired at Dawson Creative Agency, a mid-sized but rapidly growing firm with excellent benefits and room for advancement. It seemed like the perfect arrangement. Jennifer could work on her own schedule, earn decent income from consulting projects, and be there for her family when they needed her. 2 years ago, her father passed away. Jennifer thought she might return to corporate life then. But Marcus had a different suggestion. "Stay home a little longer," he'd said, holding her as she grieved. "You've been through so much. Take time to heal. I'm doing really well at Dawson. We'll be fine financially." She'd agreed, appreciating his support during such a difficult time. But working from home while Marcus climbed the corporate ladder left her feeling disconnected and increasingly invisible. She missed being part of a team, missed the energy of an office environment, missed having her work recognized publicly. That was when Marcus started asking for help. "The agency is really competitive," he'd said one evening 4 years ago. "Everyone's fighting for the same promotions. I just need a little edge, you know? Could you look at this campaign proposal I'm working on? Tell me what you think?" The moral: your value doesn't come from someone else's recognition. It comes from knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone diminish it. The people who try to make you invisible often fear your light the most. When you stand up for yourself with courage and truth, you not only reclaim your own life, you light the path for others still trapped in darkness. True power isn't about destroying those who hurt you. It's about building yourself into someone so successful, so fulfilled, and so genuinely complete that their betrayal becomes just one chapter in your story, not the entire book. Always protect your work. Always know your worth. And never, ever let anyone convince you that your contributions are less valuable than you know them to be. They discovered that Marcus had already been there at some point. Clothes were missing from his closet. His gaming console and laptop were gone, but he had left the expensive watch she bought him for their anniversary sitting on the bathroom counter with a bitter note that simply said, "Thanks for nothing." Jennifer threw the note directly in the trash and donated the watch to charity that same afternoon. On Friday, she returned to Dawson Creative Agency as an official employee for the very first time. Diane gave her a comprehensive tour of the building, introducing her to people who suddenly treated her with genuine respect and professional deference. Some seemed genuinely remorseful about how they had treated her at the ceremony. Others just seemed nervous, probably worried about their own job security. Her new office was on the executive floor, a spacious corner office with enormous windows overlooking the entire city. Her name was already elegantly displayed on the door: Jennifer Hayes, Executive Creative Director. "Your team is eager to meet you," Diane said warmly. "I've personally assigned you the top creative performers from 3 different departments. They're all genuinely excited to work directly with you." "What about the people who worked under Marcus?" Jennifer asked carefully. "Most of them are being reassigned to other divisions. A few specifically asked to work with you. I can arrange introductory meetings if you're interested." Jennifer thought about that carefully. "Let me settle in first. I want to thoroughly review current projects and get a comprehensive sense of where things actually stand before making team decisions." "Take whatever time you need," Diane assured her. "Mr. Carlson made it absolutely clear that you have complete authority to rebuild the creative division however you see fit." Over the following weeks, the divorce proceedings moved forward with surprising speed. Marcus's attorney kept trying desperately to negotiate more favorable terms, but Victoria shut down every single attempt with ruthless efficiency. "He wants joint ownership of the house until it sells," Victoria reported after one particularly contentious phone call. "Absolutely not," Jennifer said firmly. "He's claiming he has nowhere else to go." "Not my problem. He should have thought about that before committing fraud and adultery." "That's exactly what I told them," Victoria said with evident satisfaction. News about Rachel filtered back through office gossip channels. She had been officially terminated from Dawson Creative Agency after the investigation concluded with damning findings. She was essentially blacklisted from the industry. She tried to get positions at 3 different agencies, but when they called Dawson for professional references, the truth came out immediately. Marcus had it considerably worse. Not only was he unemployed and embroiled in a messy, public divorce, but Dawson Creative agency had filed a substantial civil lawsuit against him for the embezzled funds. The total came to over $60,000 in fraudulent expenses over 18 months. Criminal charges were actively being considered by the district attorney's office. Jennifer heard through a mutual acquaintance that Marcus and Rachel's relationship had imploded spectacularly within days of the ceremony. Apparently, Rachel blamed Marcus entirely for ruining her career, and Marcus blamed Rachel for encouraging him to commit fraud in the first place. They were now threatening to sue each other. It would have been darkly funny if it wasn't so pathetic. The house sold quickly to a young couple with a baby who were excited about the excellent school district and spacious backyard. Jennifer signed the final papers without any sentiment whatsoever. It was just a house. It had never really been a home. She moved into a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment downtown, close to the office, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a balcony overlooking the river. It was hers alone. Paid for with her new substantial salary, decorated exactly how she wanted with no compromises necessary. For the first time in years, Jennifer felt like she could finally breathe freely. 3 months after the ceremony that changed her life, Jennifer sat in her spacious corner office, reviewing quarterly performance reports when Diane knocked gently on her door. "Got a minute?" Diane asked. "Always," Jennifer said warmly, gesturing to the comfortable chair across from her desk. Diane sat down with a slight smile. "I wanted to give you an update on the Marcus situation. Figured you'd want to know how things resolved." Jennifer set down her pen. She had been so busy building her new life, establishing her leadership, and proving herself in her role that she had barely thought about her ex-husband in weeks. "What happened?" she asked. "Criminal charges were officially filed last week," Diane said. "Embezzlement and fraud." His attorney attempted to negotiate a plea deal, but the district attorney's office refused to budge. They want to make a clear example out of white-collar crime like this. How much time could he potentially get? 2 to 5 years if convicted at trial. Probably less if he eventually pleads guilty, but he'll definitely have a permanent criminal record either way. That'll make it virtually impossible to work in marketing or any corporate environment again. Jennifer absorbed this information without any emotional reaction. Part of her, the part that had once loved him, genuinely felt a small twinge of pity. But mostly she just felt tired and distant. "And Rachel moved to another state," Diane continued. "Oregon, I believe. Trying to start completely over. From what I've heard through professional channels, she's working retail management now. Can't get a marketing position anywhere in the country." Diane hesitated briefly, then continued. "Marcus tried to contact Mr. Carlson directly last week. Sent a long, rambling email begging for a second chance, claiming you had manipulated and deceived him, that he was actually the real victim in all this." Jennifer raised one eyebrow. "And Mr. Carlson immediately forwarded it to our legal department and permanently blocked his email address. No one here has any interest whatsoever in his excuses or revisionist history." "Good," Jennifer said simply. There was a comfortable pause. Then Diane leaned forward with genuine warmth in her expression. "How are you doing, Jennifer?" Really? It was the first time in months anyone had asked her that specific question. Everyone wanted to know about work performance, about current projects, about strategic initiatives. But no one had asked how she actually felt. "I'm good," Jennifer said, surprised to discover was completely true. "Better than good, actually. I'm genuinely happy." "You deserve to be," Diane said warmly. "You've accomplished incredible work these past few months. The entire executive leadership team is thoroughly impressed. Mr. Carlson was just telling me yesterday that hiring you was the single best decision this agency has made in years." Jennifer felt a warm flush of professional pride. I'm just doing what I should have been allowed to do all along." "Well, you're doing it brilliantly," Diane assured her. After Diane left, Jennifer turned her chair to look out the expansive window at the city below. People rushing to meetings, grabbing coffee, living their complex lives. She was one of them now. Not invisible, not diminished. Just herself, fully realized and professionally recognized. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. For a brief moment, she worried it might be Marcus trying to contact her from yet another new phone. But when she opened it, the message read, "Hi, Jennifer. This is Amy from your morning coffee shop. I know this is random, but there's a gentleman here who comes in at the same time as you most days, and he asked me to ask if you'd be interested in getting coffee with him sometime. I know it's unconventional, but he's genuinely nice and respectful and didn't want to bother you directly. No pressure at all." Amy Jennifer actually laughed out loud. She had been so intensely focused on work and rebuilding her professional life that she hadn't even noticed anyone paying attention to her. Romantically, she thought about it carefully for a moment, then texted back, "Thanks, Amy, but I'm not ready to date yet. Tell him I'm flattered, though." The reply came quickly. "Totally understand." He said, "If you ever change your mind, his name is Daniel, and he's there every Tuesday and Thursday." Jennifer smiled and put her phone away. Maybe someday she would be ready for that kind of connection again, but not yet. Right now, she was focused entirely on being the absolute best version of herself. That evening, she attended a prestigious marketing industry conference downtown. 6 months ago, she would never have been invited. Now, as executive creative director at Dawson Creative Agency, people actively sought her out for conversation and professional connection. She spent 3 engaging hours networking, exchanging innovative ideas, and making valuable professional contacts. People genuinely wanted to hear her insights. They respected her professional opinions. They treated her exactly like the expert she had always been as she was preparing to leave. A young woman approached her nervously, but with visible determination. "Ms. Hayes, I'm sorry to bother you, but I had to say something." "It's no bother at all," Jennifer said kindly. "What's on your mind?" "I read about what happened with your husband," the young woman said, words tumbling out quickly. "The whole industry knows about it by now. I just wanted to say thank you." Jennifer blinked in genuine surprise. "Thank you." She'd looked at it. It was weak, uninspired, full of fundamental strategic mistakes. So she'd fixed it. She'd completely rewritten it, added her creative vision, and transformed it into something genuinely brilliant. Marcus presented it at work and received glowing praise from his superiors. He came home that night, practically glowing with excitement. They loved it, he'd said, spinning her around their kitchen. Mr. Carlson said it was the best proposal he'd seen in months. "Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much. Just this once, right?" she'd asked. "Of course," he'd promised. "Just until I get established in my role." But once became twice. Twice became weekly. Weekly became constant. For 4 years, Jennifer had been the invisible engine powering every success Marcus claimed at Dawson Creative Agency. She created award-winning campaigns for Fortune 500 clients. She wrote presentations that earned standing ovations. She developed marketing strategies that increased client revenue by 45%. And Marcus presented all of it as his own work. At first, he'd seemed grateful, almost guilty about it. He would thank her profusely, promise to give her credit eventually, swear that once he got promoted to senior creative director, he would bring her into the agency officially as his partner. But as the praise accumulated and his salary increased, his gratitude faded. The promises became vague and infrequent. And Jennifer found herself working harder and harder to keep him successful while her own identity slowly disappeared. She told herself it was temporary. She told herself she was helping her husband, being a supportive wife, being a team player. She told herself that his success was their shared success. But lately, things felt different. Marcus came home later and later, always with excuses about client dinners and strategy meetings. He was constantly on his phone, texting and smiling at messages he wouldn't share with her. When she asked about his day, his answers were short and sometimes defensive. "You wouldn't understand," he'd say dismissively. "It's complicated agency politics." One name came up more frequently than any other. Rachel. Rachel thinks we should target a younger demographic. Rachel suggested we use micro-influencers instead of celebrities. Rachel and I stayed late to finalize the budget proposal. Jennifer tried not to feel jealous. Rachel was just a colleague, she told herself. Marcus was allowed to have female co-workers. But the way he said her name with just a little too much warmth, a little too much familiarity made Jennifer's stomach twist with doubt. Still, she pushed those feelings aside. She trusted Marcus. She had to trust him. They were married. They were building a life together. One evening in late April, Marcus came home practically vibrating with excitement. "Guess what?" he said, grabbing both her hands. "I've been nominated for the Industry Innovator Award. It's the highest honor at Dawson. The ceremony is in October. There will be executives from agencies all over the region there. This could be my ticket to Executive Creative Director, Jennifer." "That's incredible," she said, genuinely happy for him despite everything. "I'm so proud of you." "I couldn't have done any of this without you," Marcus said, pulling her into a tight hug. "You're amazing." For a moment, Jennifer felt seen, felt valued, felt like maybe all the invisible work was worth it after all. "Will I get to come to the ceremony?" she asked. "Of course," Marcus said quickly. "You'll be right there with me. I want everyone to meet my beautiful wife." But something in his eyes when he said it felt rehearsed, like he was reading lines from a script he didn't quite believe. Jennifer chose to ignore that feeling. She chose to believe him. That was her first mistake. 3 weeks before the awards ceremony, Jennifer was putting the finishing touches on Marcus's acceptance speech. He hadn't even attempted to write it himself. He'd simply sent her a list of people to thank and told her to make it sound good. She sat at Marcus's desk in their spare bedroom, which he used as a home office when working from the house. Her own laptop was charging downstairs, so she borrowed his. He was in the shower, and she needed to email him the speech draft so he could review it during his morning commute. She opened his email application and typed his address into the recipient field. As she was about to attach the document, a message notification popped up in the corner of the screen. It wasn't an email. It was a message from the agency's internal communication system. From Rachel. "Can't wait until you finally leave her. Last night was incredible. She has no idea you're about to become Executive Creative Director and we can finally be together openly. Just 3 more weeks." Jennifer's fingers froze above the keyboard. The words blurred in and out of focus as she read them again. And again. And again. Leave her. Last night was incredible. She has no idea. Her hands moved before her brain could fully process what she was doing. She clicked on the message thread. Months of messages appeared. Hundreds of them, starting 10 months ago. She scrolled up to the beginning. "Marcus, you looked absolutely stunning in that blue dress at the client dinner. Couldn't stop thinking about you afterward. Rachel, stop. You're married. Marcus, unhappily married. There's a significant difference." Jennifer felt like someone had poured ice water directly into her lungs. She kept scrolling, her hands trembling. The messages grew bolder, more explicit, more cruel. "Marcus, Jennifer has no idea what she's doing. She just sits at home all day while I'm out here building my career. Rachel, doesn't she help you with your campaigns? Marcus, She types up some ideas I give her. She's basically my unpaid assistant. The real creative genius is all mine. Jennifer's vision went red around the edges. She kept scrolling. More messages. Pictures. Marcus and Rachel at restaurants. Marcus and Rachel in what was clearly a hotel room. Marcus and Rachel kissing in his car parked somewhere dark. And then she found messages that made her blood turn to ice. Marcus: I've been carefully telling people at work that Jennifer has some mental health struggles. Nothing too serious, just that she gets anxious and paranoid, especially about me working with other women. I'm laying the groundwork so when I leave her, everyone will understand why. Rachel, that's smart. You don't want people thinking you're the villain in all this. Marcus: exactly. By the time the awards ceremony happens, I'll have the executive position secured. Right after that, I'll serve her with divorce papers. My attorney says because she hasn't worked a traditional job in years, and I've been the sole breadwinner, she won't get much in the settlement. Plus, if I can establish a pattern of mental instability, it'll go even smoother in court. Jennifer covered her mouth with her hand to keep from screaming out loud. There was more. So much more. Marcus had been showing Rachel pieces of Jennifer's work, letting Rachel present some of those ideas as her own during team meetings, building up Rachel's reputation using Jennifer's creative brilliance. They mocked Jennifer in the messages, called her naive, called her stupid, called her boring and pathetic. Rachel: does she really not know you're cheating? Marcus: she's completely clueless. Too trusting. It's actually kind of sad how easy this has been. Jennifer sat frozen in the chair, staring at the screen, her entire body numb. She heard the shower turn off down the hallway. Marcus would be out in 5 minutes. Her hands started moving again. Faster now. Driven by pure survival instinct, she opened her email on her phone and began sending herself screenshots of everything, every message, every picture, every cruel word, every piece of evidence. She created a new folder in his documents and found files she'd never seen before. Expense reports where Marcus had charged the agency for expensive dinners with Rachel, labeling them as client meetings. Hotel rooms, jewelry, all paid for with company money. All fraudulent. She copied everything to a USB drive she found in the desk drawer. Then she carefully deleted her browsing history on his laptop, closed all the windows, and pulled up only her email with the speech attachment. By the time Marcus walked into the room in his bathrobe, toweling his hair dry, Jennifer was standing calmly by the window, her face perfectly composed. Did you send the speech? He asked casually. Just did, she said, her voice remarkably steady. Check your email. He didn't even look at her. He just picked up his laptop and clicked through to his inbox. Looks good, he said, barely glancing at the document. You're the best. The words that used to make her feel valued now felt like poison running through her veins. Anything else you need? She asked. Nope, I'm heading to bed. Big day tomorrow. He kissed her forehead like she was a child, like she was nothing, and walked out of the room without another word. Jennifer stood there in the darkness, the USB drive clutched tightly in her fist. Her heart was pounding, but her mind was crystal clear. She wasn't going to fall apart. She wasn't going to cry and beg and scream. She was going to be smart. She was going to be strategic. She was going to make absolutely certain that when Marcus's world came crashing down around him, he would know exactly who brought the hammer down. But first, she needed a plan. Jennifer didn't sleep that night. While Marcus snored peacefully in their bed, completely unaware, she sat in the living room with her laptop, methodically organizing everything she'd discovered. She created a folder titled Evidence and began building her case like she was preparing for the most important presentation of her life. Because in many ways, she was. Yes, I'm in a remarkably similar situation. My boyfriend and I work at the same agency, and I've been creating all his client proposals for 3 years now. He keeps promising to give me proper credit, but it never actually happens. Reading about what you did, how you stood up for yourself so powerfully, it gave me real courage. I'm going to my supervisor tomorrow and telling her the complete truth. The young woman's eyes were bright with equal parts determination and fear. Jennifer took her hand gently and squeezed it with understanding. You deserve full recognition for your work. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. And if your supervisor doesn't listen properly, remember you have options. Document absolutely everything. Keep copies of all your original files. Protect yourself thoroughly. I will. Thank you so much, Miss Hayes. Really. As Jennifer walked to her car afterward, she felt something profound shift in her chest. Her pain, her public humiliation, her difficult struggle, and it all becomes something bigger than just her personal story. That it wasn't only about her anymore. She could actively help other women avoid what she had experienced. She could use her position and platform to mentor, to advocate loudly, to make absolutely certain no one else had to stay invisible. That night, lying peacefully in her own apartment, in her own comfortable bed, surrounded by silence that felt peaceful rather than lonely, Jennifer Hayes fell asleep with a genuine smile on her face. She hadn't just survived. She had completely won. 6 months after the ceremony that changed everything, Jennifer stood confidently in front of a packed conference room at the National Marketing Summit, preparing to deliver her very first keynote speech. The room held 400 marketing professionals from across the entire country, all there specifically to hear her speak. The title of her presentation, Protecting Your Creative Work, Intellectual Property and Recognition in a Competitive Industry. She wore a sharp charcoal gray suit, her hair styled beautifully, her confidence radiating from every aspect of her presence. As she took the stage, the audience broke into warm, welcoming applause. "Good morning," Jennifer began, her voice strong and absolutely clear. "My name is Jennifer Hayes, and 1 year ago, I didn't exist." The room went completely quiet. Everyone leaned forward to listen intently. "I was invisible," she continued. "I created award-winning campaigns that generated millions in revenue, but my name appeared on none of them. I poured my expertise, my creativity, my countless sleepless nights into work that someone else took complete credit for. And I allowed it to happen because I believed in loyalty. I believed in my marriage vows. I believed that my contributions mattered even if absolutely no one saw them." She clicked to the next slide, which showed a simple but powerful statement. "Your work has value. Demand recognition." "I'm not here to tell you a revenge story," Jennifer continued with purpose. "I'm here to talk about protecting yourself in an industry that too often rewards those who promote themselves loudest, not those who create the best actual work. Intellectual property theft happens every single day in big dramatic ways and in small, incremental ways, and it disproportionately affects women, people of color, and junior employees who feel they lack institutional power." For the next 50 minutes, Jennifer delivered a presentation that was part cautionary tale, part practical professional guide, and part rallying cry for systemic change. She talked about document metadata, the critical importance of maintaining original drafts, how to build an undeniable paper trail, and exactly when to escalate serious concerns to human resources or legal counsel. She shared her complete story, not with bitterness or anger, but with clarity and genuine educational purpose. She explained the warning signs she had missed, the institutional systems that had failed her, and the strategic decisions that ultimately led to justice and professional recognition. The audience was absolutely riveted. People took notes furiously. Several women in the crowd, discreetly wiped away tears. When she finished, the standing ovation lasted a full 4 minutes. During the extensive Q&A session, hands shot up throughout the room. "How did you find the courage to come forward?" one woman asked emotionally. "It wasn't courage at first," Jennifer admitted honestly. "It was anger, pure, focused anger. But anger can be tremendously powerful fuel if you channel it correctly and strategically. I transformed my anger into irrefutable evidence, and that evidence into decisive action." "Do you regret staying in your marriage as long as you did?" another person asked. Jennifer paused, considering the question with genuine care. "I regret allowing my identity to shrink to fit someone else's selfish needs. I regret not valuing my own extraordinary work enough to protect it much sooner. But I don't regret the complete journey, because it taught me exactly who I am and what I'm truly capable of accomplishing." After the presentation concluded, dozens of people lined up to speak with her personally. Some desperately wanted advice on their own similar situations. Others simply wanted to shake her hand and express gratitude. A reporter from Marketing Excellence magazine approached with a professional recording device. "Your story has resonated with thousands of people across the industry. Would you be willing to be featured in our Women in Leadership series?" "Absolutely," Jennifer said without hesitation. Over the following months, the speaking invitations kept coming steadily. Industry conferences, university panel discussions, corporate leadership workshops, professional development seminars. Jennifer was becoming widely known not only for her exceptional marketing brilliance, but for her powerful advocacy for professional recognition and intellectual property protection. Dawson Creative Agency was thriving magnificently under her innovative leadership. The creative division had successfully launched 7 major campaigns in 8 months, each one more successful than the last. Client satisfaction scores were at an all-time high. Revenue had increased 42%. Employee morale in her division was at record levels. Mr. Carlson called her into his office one afternoon with news that made her heart race with excitement. "Jennifer, the board of directors has voted unanimously to make you a full partner in the firm," he said, sliding an official contract across his polished desk. "This comes with substantial equity, profit sharing, and a permanent seat at the executive table for all major company decisions." Jennifer stared at the contract, barely able to process what she was hearing. "You've fundamentally transformed this entire agency," Mr. Carlson continued with obvious pride. "Your leadership, your creative vision, your absolute integrity, it's exactly what we need for our future. Plus, the positive publicity from your speaking engagements and advocacy work has been incredibly beneficial for our professional reputation. Companies actively want to work with us specifically because you're here." "I don't know what to say," Jennifer whispered, genuinely overwhelmed. "Say yes," Mr. Carlson said with a warm, genuine smile. "You've earned this 100 times over." She signed the contract right there, her hand absolutely steady. That evening, Diane took her out for celebratory drinks at an upscale restaurant downtown overlooking the river. "To Jennifer Hayes," Diane toasted warmly, raising her glass. "From invisible to absolutely unstoppable." They clinked glasses, and Jennifer felt profound gratitude wash over her. "I couldn't have accomplished any of this without you," Jennifer said sincerely. "You believed me when absolutely no one else would have." "You did the truly hard part," Diane corrected gently. "You had the courage to come forward and the extraordinary strength to build something genuinely better. That's all you." As they talked and laughed over an excellent dinner, Jennifer realized she had built something she never expected to find: genuine, supportive friendships. Diane had become one of her closest friends. She had connected with other remarkable women in the industry who supported and championed each other. Authentically, she had created a professional, Network of people who valued her for exactly who she was: brilliant, strong, and uncompromisingly authentic. Her phone buzzed with a message from the young woman she had met at the networking event months ago, the one who had been creating her boyfriend's proposals. Ms. I wanted you to know that I left the agency and started my own independent consulting business. I'm successfully landing amazing clients and finally getting full credit for my own exceptional work. Thank you for inspiring me to take that terrifying leap. Jennifer wrote back immediately. So proud of you. You did all the hard work yourself. Keep going strong. That night, alone in her beautiful apartment, Jennifer looked around thoughtfully at the life she had deliberately built, the beautiful space that was entirely hers, the fulfilling career that challenged and excited her, the respect she had genuinely earned, the future that stretched out before her, absolutely full of possibility. She thought about Marcus, wherever he was now, probably still bitterly blaming her for his self-created downfall. She thought about how he had systematically tried to make her small, invisible, powerless, and completely dependent. And she thought about how thoroughly and completely she had proven him wrong. She hadn't just survived his cruel betrayal. She had used it as powerful fuel to become someone truly remarkable. That, she realized, was the very best form of justice. Not revenge, but transformation.